Previously, you've learned how to form chords and play them back in TuneScope. However, many genres of music utilize more than one chord to make songs flow and to drive the song forward. And a repeated progression of chords often is used as a backing track that will repeat as the melody is played over it. This pattern is known as a chord progression, and this will be responsible for creating a sense of movement within a song. And so a common chord progression found in many different songs consists of chords that are associated with the first, fourth, and fifth note in a major scale. So, for example, in a C major scale, the notes C, F, and G are the first, fourth, and fifth notes in the C major scale. So therefore, the C major chord progression would consist of the C major chord, the F major chord, and the G major chord. So I'll play that for you here. So our first, the fourth, the fifth, and then I just go back to one. And so because a chord progression is established in this way by the first, fourth, and fifth notes in a major scale, the corresponding chords are often referenced as the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. And so Roman numerals then are used to represent these chords to differentiate, the chords from just notes in the scale. And so we have a major/minor chord position reporter blocks that can be used to then identify the chords along a major or minor scale. So here I have C major in the 4th octave, and I can select any sort of chord along the scale that I want. So if I want the 1 chord, it will report back C, E, and G, which is what we've been exploring previously. Same with the C minor. I can select any of the C minor chords. So if I want the first one, we have C4, E flat 4, and G4. So we can use those to get and reference chords from these scales. And so you can drag them into our play chord block, and this is just another way that we can create a chord and hear it. And so a loop then can be constructed to play a sequence of numbered chords. And so in this piece of code that we have a list of our chord progression. So we have a list that consists of our chord progression. So here we have the 1, 4, 5, and then back to 1. And so for each item in this list, we'll be able to play the chord, each chord in succession. So once we have our code that can play a progression of these chords, the chord progression then can be shifted from one scale to another. So in this code here, we have a list that consists of the scales that we want to reference, and then we have a chord progression that will be referenced for each scale. So this code will shift from one scale to the next, so C major, D major, and then E major, and then this inner loop here will play the numbered chord sequence within each scale. So we can, as you can see that, and here, these chords progressions sound very similar, even though we're shifting from one scale to the next. They all have similar qualities. So you can keep that in mind as you're making your own chord progressions. And so we can do the same thing here in the minor scale, or in the minor key of C, by doing the same thing, only One thing to note is that minor chords are referenced with lowercase Roman numerals to distinguish them from major chords, which are capitalized. So here, so this progression, sounds a little more melancholy than the major chord progressions, but but it's the same deal. We still type in our chord progression in lowercase Roman numerals, and this is how we can create a corresponding progression in minor. So ultimately, you can mix and match chords to create chord progressions, and then this all will begin to form the basis of a song that you might want to create in TuneScope.